After finishing watching the PlayStation 5 reveal stream, a little game was announced by the name of Horizon Forbidden West. When I saw this, it hit me. I haven't even played the first one yet. Every single time I walked past this game on a shelf in GameStop, I told myself, next time. Every single time I saw this game on a deal in PlayStation Store, told myself, next time. And only now, after seeing that reveal of the sequel and hearing that the game is actually pretty good, I decided to purchase it. And oh boy, let me tell you, I was pleasantly surprised with this game. But before I start talking about it, if you're new here, be sure to subscribe. I've set a new goal on my YouTube channel, that being hitting 10k subs. I know that sounds pretty ridiculous considering where I am, but I have some goddamn faith, you know? So if you're new, consider subscribing, it's free. And also be sure to like the video. By liking the video, it helps out the channel being noticed and also the video being spread out. Be sure to share, I guess, if you enjoyed this kind of review new thing that I'm doing. But without further ado, let's get right into the video. Horizon Zero Dawn is a stunningly beautiful game. The scenery and the look of it on a normal PlayStation 4 on a 720p TV still had me shocked and blown away by how well detailed and mesmerizing everything looked. During my first playthrough of the game, I found myself lost in slowly strolling down a random path and taking in the views of the game. The lighting, the graphics and everything just looks so good. The detailing on the robots in this game is mind-boggling. The mounts you get in the game are extremely well detailed, and you can even pay more attention to the detail by being able to enter photo mode, which is a nice and good addition to this kind of a game. The only other time that I can think of doing this kind of a thing is in my favorite game of all time called Red Dead Redemption 2. I can compare this game a lot to it in many ways, even though they're not only in a totally different timeline but also totally different settings. In Red Dead Redemption 2, I could find myself spending hours on end doing things like just casually walking around on a street in Saint Denis and telling everyone good morning, or just fishing in a lake and just admiring the view. I'm a sucker for extreme detail and beautiful graphics. Unfortunately, on Horizon, I couldn't spend a lot of time taking in the view because for some odd reason everything just wants to kill you. When I say everything, I mean everything. Well, apart from like Pumbaa and all the other animals. I could find myself looking at a view and in seconds I was bombarded with extremely intense music and then rammed into by some gigantic tiger mech robot, whatever you want to call it. There seems to be an unnecessary amount of bots in the map, which at first annoyed me, and well, it still does, but I can let it go because it makes sense with the story, which I will get into shortly. The game has a classic system of a skill tree, which is just there to fulfill upgrades to weapons, mounts, and healing. Having a skill tree in a game isn't anything revolutionary, it just serves to be a way to upgrade your inventory. But this kind of skill tree reminds me most of Ubisoft's style, specifically Far Cry games, since in this you can have many crafting materials to make weapons and all sorts sorts of things. With this comes a leveling up system, which thankfully isn't as bad as some other Ubisoft titles that will remain unnamed. But otherwise, it doesn't affect the gameplay greatly unless you want to complete the entire skill tree. One of the best highlights of this game that I can think of is the sounding. The sounding in this game is superb. It's so well made, and it definitely is a way better experience by using a headset to play. The footsteps are a huge part of this game, and they are just so well made. You can hear every single material you step on, if it's metal, dirt, grass, whatever. It's just a highlight of the game for me. Horizon has a wide range of weaponry and customization, which I only bother to discover later in the game, but trying to upgrade your weapons and get new ones seems like an essential thing to do if you're not playing on easy difficulty, as I myself started off playing at normal difficulty and realizing as I went through it that I would be better off playing on story mode if I don't want to break anything. I personally preferred the default outfit or armor, even though, as I mentioned, it's better off to use better sets if you don't want to die easily. But I didn't really like any other outfit other than the normal one you get at the beginning of the game. Some of the game movements and mechanics felt a bit uncomfortable. Some situations like riding on a mount and all of a sudden you might hit a rock or randomly stop and start going in a wrong direction. Similarly, when I was climbing on things, I could find my character go to the wrong direction and not move where I wanted her to go. Other than that, I didn't really experience any other issues or extreme bugs. If anything, I might have found some tiny things here and there. Also, some of the character animations felt a bit off on characters, with some of them deciding to stop when you have to follow them to a certain place, or their facial animations were very robot-like at times, with only their mouths and repetitive body and head movements. But these only happened when I was talking to them in the optional quote part of the game, which honestly is a very well made thing. It's not like every other game where you have a limited amount of time and things to say, which I probably really enjoyed mostly in this game. I was able to explore every possible line that I was given, unless it was one of those one-time event kind of situations that they also have in this game where you can be nice, mean, or badass. One thing that did make me uncomfortable at times with the characters is that they were just a bit too perfect. What I mean by this is, yes, some had facial hair, some had their look to them, but when you looked at their body in general, normally nobody really had any kind of freckle or bit of hair or any kind of detailing that you would see on, like, I don't know, God of War or Red Dead 2, which, yes, it does mean I'm picky, but as I talked about graphics wise, this lacked mostly. It felt a bit just well too slick on their bodies. I don't know how to explain it perfectly. Yet again, this kind of would make sense with this story, which I will get into right now. So if you don't want any spoilers about the game, skip to this time on screen or just use the timestamps that I have down in the description. And yeah, so if you want to skip, just press the time. Okay, let's get into it. The story is a bit different from what I've seen before. This game does bear a bit of resemblance to Ark Survival Evolved, but minus the bad graphics, storyline, and just in general the survival aspect of the game. Horizon Zero Dawn takes place in a distant future where robotic animal-like things roam across the planet. From progressing in the story, you learn that their main purpose is to clear the planet from pollution and other things, which is, as I've spoken, kind of makes sense with the amount of them in the map. You play as a brave and adventurous character by the name of Aloy, which sounds a lot like Alloy, which is kind of pretty cool if you have to ask me. And she is raised by Rust, spelled with an O instead of a U. Again, kind of cool. And well, Aloy at a young age discovers a device which lets her see what others can't. It's kind of a futuristic thing, which is very different from where the game is based in, which is kind of, you know, post-apocalyptic kind of world. And what she kind of learned from this device is that she kind of is very important as you progress through the story. She is kind of a distant kind of relative, or whatever you want to call a clone of this really important character that was like around in the 2065, I think, when everything went to hell and these robots decided to kill the whole planet because they were kind of biofuel. So they took everything from the planet and it died. But then this new robot called Gaia, which is the Gaia goddess, she kind of had this programming where she would create new life. And as I said, it kind of makes sense with the whole people looking kind of too perfect. I guess that's who she created. But then this other robot thingy that was meant to basically delete everything if everything went bad, but it kind of didn't go bad, and the corruption that caused the old robots back in the past go bad corrupted Hades, which is the robot that I said about. And then Hades wanted to kill the whole planet for no reason, even though it was kind of going well, unless you count the corruption and everything. And then Aloy learns that she has to be the one that has to stop everything. And then you progress through the story, you meet this guy called Silence, blah 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 blah. One thing that kind of did annoy me is, unfortunately, through the story as you go, it's kind of at the beginning, Russ, the main guy who raised Aloy from a young age, because they weren't part of any tribe, he raised her. And it was unfortunate because I kind of got into the character and he had a sacrifice kind of situation to save Aloy. And what annoyed me is that for some odd reason, when Aloy learns that she will not be able to be with Rust anymore because of the story, after his death, she totally ignores it because all of a sudden she just cares about this new character called Elizabeth. Rust is totally ignored until just before the final battle. She talks to herself and asks Rust a question. That's it. No more Rust. I haven't done the side quests, maybe you explore that more there, but if you're going to be making the main story, I feel like his death should have been more impactful and meant a lot more to her since she was basically raised by him. Like, it's kind of weird. But in conclusion, Aloy basically kills the Hades robot thingy, and yay, hooray, which ends on a cliffhanger, which turns out that Silence is a bad guy. You I know what he does in the sequel, and he's pretty more corrupt. But in fairness, I was kind of glued to the screen at times with the story because it is a cool one and it's smart the way it's told, with constant questions being unfolded every mission and plots being concluded in oddly satisfying ways. There are two parts in story that I was really enjoying and just made me feel a goosebump fest. First one being when Aloy is rescued by Silence when she's stuck in a gladiator place kind of a thing. Silence comes out of nowhere to rescue her and he's on all these like overridden robots and it's all cool, and I was like, heck yeah, this is fucking amazing. And that's kind of it for that part. And it was a very nice ending when Aloy goes to visit the body of Elizabeth. As you learn, she sacrificed herself to basically save the whole world to have a brighter future. It's kind of nice because you hear this quote line where Gaia is talking to Elizabeth, and basically Elizabeth talks about how she had like this experience as a child at her home where she by accident started a fire. Thankfully her mother called firefighters, blah blah blah. It's nice because she goes to the place where she lived, and what does she find? She finds Elizabeth's body. But Elizabeth was in a suit that survived all of these thousands of years down the line. And it's just an emotional scene in my opinion, and it made me tear jerk because it's basically Elizabeth seeing Elizabeth from my understanding. Because what Aloy is basically Elizabeth's clone, which was created by Gaia to save the whole world. And it was a very nice ending, and hearing that line in the background and just the whole look of the whole area where there's butterflies and a triangle of flowers, I don't know if that means anything. It was a nice conclusion to the story, as unknowingly Elizabeth and Aloy, they went through some crazy adventures during this game, trying to unfold the secrets of what happened in the past to lead everything up the way it was. And honestly, that's probably one of my favorite parts of the story conclusion. Obviously there is that after credit scene, as I mentioned, with Silence. He's spreading more of the corruption. In conclusion, if you're bored or want a good looking game to play, I for sure recommend Horizon Zero Dawn. It has a good enough plot and the characters at times seem likable. Don't go into this game expecting dinosaurs, because I was kind of expecting that. Unfortunately, I was unaware of this, so I thought I was going to go and ride a robot T-Rex. Sad times. I for sure give this game 4 Bionicles out of 5 Bionicles, and again, I for sure recommend this game if you haven't played it. It has some funny moments, like where they make fun of flat earthers, and here's probably my favorite part of the game.
What is this?
That? It's a map.
A map of what?
Our world. The planet Earth, Aloy. It's not flat like you thought.
Why would I think that? During eclipses, the shadow cast on the moon is curved. So our world is a globe. And it looks like this, from a distance.
And yeah, I for sure definitely recommend it. But anyway guys, I hope you all enjoyed. This is a new series I'm planning to make on my YouTube channel if it does well. I've recently found myself playing a lot of amazing games and some bad, so I would really appreciate a like and maybe a comment and see if this will go well. If you've made it this far, comment down below what kind of a name you'd call this series, as I want to have a specific name for it. If possible, something like blah 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 reviews. Obviously instead of the blah blah blah, have something in there like, I don't know, something reviews. Whatever the best name for it will be, I will use it. So if you wanna, have some impact on my YouTube channel in a positive way, apart from subscribing and liking this video, be sure to comment down below. So without further ado, thank you all, and I hope you enjoyed, because I for sure did. Peace out.